Hello and welcome to today's episode. I'm so glad you're here with us. In this episode, we'll take a look into a doctor's weekly routine, exploring how language and daily life can come together in the medical field. Whether you're learning English for work, school, or just for fun, this episode will give you practical insights and help you improve your listening skills. Let's get started. My name is Dr. Olivia Bennett. I am an internal medicine physician living and working in Seattle, Washington. Although I've been practicing for nearly a decade, every week in my life still feels unique, filled with challenges, learning opportunities, and moments of personal reflection. This is not just a story about medicine. It is a story about how discipline, curiosity, and language all work together in shaping who I am, both as a doctor and a lifelong learner. I am sharing my weekly routine here to encourage students of the English language, particularly those from non-English speaking countries, to understand how language can be woven into everyday life, even during the busiest schedules. My hope is that this narrative shows how English learning doesn't always require a classroom. It can be part of your life, your habits, and even your passion. My week begins at 5:30 a.m. on Monday morning. The alarm rings and I reach for my phone not to scroll social media, but to open a short English language podcast. I listen while preparing coffee, usually something short and informative, like a 5-minute TED Talk summary or a science-based vocabulary episode. These small rituals help tune my brain into English from the moment I wake up. By 6:30, I'm reviewing patient charts and medical reports on my laptop. Even though I've been reading medical English for years, I keep a notebook where I jot down unfamiliar terms or expressions. I believe learning never stops, and precision in language, especially in medicine, can make all the difference. At 7:30, I arrive at the hospital. Monday is full of inpatient rounds, consultations, and administrative meetings. During morning rounds, I speak with residents, nurses, and sometimes medical students. I make it a point to encourage clear communication, asking questions like, "Can you rephrase that diagnosis in simpler terms?" Or, "What would you tell the patient in plain English?" Teaching others sharpens my own use of language. At noon, I lead a case discussion in our internal medicine conference room. I prepare visual slides in English with bullet points and medical reasoning, and I always pause to define rare terms or idioms for the younger staff. By the end of the day, I'm exhausted, but I make time to read either a medical journal or a chapter from a novel in English. This week, I'm reading When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi. His writing blends science and literature in a way that's both poetic and inspiring. Tuesdays are usually clinic days. I see patients back-to-back from 8 a.m. until around 4 p.m. Communication is key during these appointments, especially since many of my patients come from different cultural and linguistic backgrounds. I often find myself adjusting my language to fit the patient's level of understanding, saying high blood pressure instead of hypertension, or using simple metaphors to explain chronic illness. These interactions are powerful reminders of how flexible language must be in real life. During lunch, I sit in the staff lounge and usually browse a few medical blogs or watch part of a medical documentary in English on YouTube. Not only does this improve my listening skills, but it also expands my awareness of how medical English is spoken casually versus formally. Later in the afternoon, I attend a quality improvement meeting with hospital administrators. The language used here is very different, full of business terms and data analysis. To me, this is another side of English that medical professionals must learn to navigate. I often reflect on how language shifts depending on your audience, and I encourage students to pay attention to these nuances. At night, after dinner, I review any difficult conversations I had that day. I write a few sentences in my journal about what I wish I had said better, or how I could improve my explanations next time. I keep a list of phrases for clarity that I've built over the years, things like, "Let me clarify. What I mean is," and "Does that make sense?" They seem small, but they've made a big difference in my confidence and clarity. Wednesdays start with a teaching session. As a clinical instructor at the University of Washington School of Medicine, I spend the first half of the day with third-year medical students. We review case studies and diagnostic reasoning. I ask my students not only to give answers but to explain their reasoning in full sentences. This helps them and me practice structured academic English. I sometimes give feedback on word choice, encouraging them to move from vague language, "the patient seems tired," to precise descriptions, "the patient reports persistent fatigue for the past 2 weeks." In the afternoon, I usually have fewer patients, so I dedicate some time to reading research articles or editing academic papers. Writing scientific English is another skill that takes years to master. I've published several papers, and I still spend a lot of time revising and simplifying my writing. I use tools like Grammarly and online thesauruses to refine my sentences. I often advise non-native English speakers to write their first drafts freely, and then slowly revise them, paying attention to clarity, tone, and grammar. Wednesday evenings are reserved for self-care and language immersion. I cook dinner while listening to an audiobook. This week, it's the Checklist Manifesto by Atul Gawande, a surgeon and writer whose language is as clear as his surgical technique. I love authors who write with purpose and precision, and I try to mirror that in my own language. Thursday is my most academic day of the week. I teach a 2-hour seminar on clinical decision-making at the university. Preparing for this class takes several hours, especially because I want to make complex topics understandable. I include real patient stories, anonymized of course, and encourage students to analyze what was said, how it was said, and how things could be improved. Language is not just about vocabulary, it's about empathy, tone, and timing. After class, I meet with my research team. We're currently working on a paper about diagnostic delays in underserved populations. This involves reading, writing, and editing English texts for publication. During these meetings, I make it a point to explain statistical terms or academic expressions for the benefit of junior researchers. I've learned that if you can teach it clearly, you truly understand it. Later in the day, I might attend a guest lecture or professional webinar. These are excellent opportunities to hear different styles of spoken English, from fast-paced American presenters to international doctors who speak with varied accents. I remind my students that there is no single correct English accent. What matters most is clarity, respect, and confidence. Fridays are for wrapping up. I review cases from the week, complete paperwork, and check in with residents and nurses. I often write emails summarizing patient care plans, and I treat these emails as mini writing exercises. Writing professionally requires thought and structure, something I continue to refine every day. In the afternoon, I mentor 2 international medical graduates preparing for the USMLE. Our sessions include mock interviews and case presentations, entirely in English. I give them feedback on medical accuracy, of course, but also on how they express themselves. Sometimes the difference between a good doctor and a great doctor lies in communication. I've seen talented physicians struggle not because they lacked knowledge, but because they couldn't express it well. At night, I reward myself with a movie or series in English. Subtitled content helps, especially when it's dialogue-heavy. Lately, I've been watching New Amsterdam, a hospital drama that offers a good mix of medical vocabulary and emotional expression. Weekends are more relaxed, but they still involve English in subtle ways. On Saturday mornings, I take a walk in the park while listening to English news or podcasts. Later, I meet friends for lunch, many of whom are also in medicine and speak multiple languages. We often talk about how English has shaped our careers and relationships in the U.S. On Sunday afternoons, I reflect. I write longer journal entries, sometimes full essays, about medicine, language, and personal growth. Writing for pleasure is a different experience from academic writing. It allows me to play with words, explore metaphors, and discover new ways to express emotions. I often post short reflections on a professional blog, and many readers have told me these posts help them feel seen and motivated. Before bed, I plan the week ahead and write my English goals for the next 7 days. It might be learning 5 new expressions, mastering the pronunciation of certain terms, or reading one research article carefully. These goals keep me engaged and progressing, no matter how experienced I am. Being a doctor in the United States has taught me that language is not something you master once. It's something you build every day. Whether you are a student, a professional, or just someone passionate about English, let your learning be active, personal, and connected to your daily life. Read with intention, speak with clarity, listen with curiosity, and write with purpose. I'm still learning, and I always will be. And that, in both medicine and language, is a beautiful thing. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and found it helpful for your English learning journey.